Hello everybody, welcome to Sunday here at Circuit Zolder, and welcome to the first stream of the day, which is qualifying 2 of the weekend. We have a lot to discuss before we go racing here today. First off, we're going to look back at some of the highlights from yesterday's action because there is a lot to talk about. Some very, very busy action out there on the circuit, and a great second race indeed. Other than the incident that we saw, we obviously never wish that upon our competitors, but a very exciting second one. These reverse grids are always great entertainment. We had Jose Eduardo Rodriguez and Mark Taylor on the front row of the grid, 2 drivers that have been fighting for the Chrome Championship over the last few years. A big go from all the engineers, as we often have, and an unfortunate first lap for Clemens Hecker, who dropped a number of positions, but it opened up a great fight in the Titan category. Jose Eduardo Rodriguez was at the front, hoping to run away, while the likes of Norbert Kish, Antonio Albacete, and of course eventual race winner Jochen Hahn were making their way through the pack. Steffi was in front of her teammate for a good portion of the race, but unfortunately succumbed to the move eventually down at the chicane. Stefan Kirsch and John Newell were having a good fight further down, but John's puncture really hindered his progress. And we saw a great chase from Norbert Kish and Steffi Halm. Really good respect between the two of them, and a lovely battle with Antonio Albacete and Sasha Lenz waiting in the wings. Jochen Hahn eventually took the race lead down at turn 1 from Jose Eduardo Rodriguez and started to open up the gap. But into the final moments of the race, unfortunately, this contact between Norbert Kish and Steffi Halm would involve Antonio Albacete in a big way, and the race would be red flagged 1 lap from the end.
Sorry to catch you straight after that, but a big incident there just from your side. Well, what exactly happened?
You know, it's always very quick. We were fighting for many laps, Nobby and me, and he was faster. He tried it a few times, and he was always fair. We gave us the space and the exit. And then when we come after the right-hander, I don't know the turn, but the medical center is, he went inside, he was on my back wheel, and he didn't reduce the speed, so I gave him the space for the chicane for the inside. The left-hander, I went on the outside with him, but he didn't give me the space then in that corner. I think he was too fast, so I cut, and then I don't exactly know. We had for sure a little contact, but then there was a massive oversteering. I don't know if it's because of my hit or the contact or why. Too much accelerating, I don't know. And then he spun directly in front of me, so I can go nowhere. And yeah, that was the problem, but I don't know. He was on the track again, so I think with him it's all okay, but Antonio, I don't know.
So we've heard from Steffi Halm about the incident yesterday, and we're here now ahead of the qualifying session with the one and only Csaba Bacco from Reverse Racing. Csaba, you've obviously had to put a lot of work in overnight with the truck and get it all repaired, and obviously not a nice situation to be in, but what's had to go into the work overnight?
Well, at the end, I think it was a lucky situation. Of course, it was a dangerous situation, but it could have been a lot worse. So we have seen a lot worse here in Zolder. Regarding our truck, it was mostly cosmetical damage, bits and bolts there. We had to replace a water tank, a bit of a damage on the rear axle, but all seemed to be repairable. We wanted to look like new, so it took a long time, but it mostly was cosmetic, luckily, so nothing serious.
And what time did you guys finish then in the morning doing that? Because even though it's only cosmetic, that's still a long job, isn't it?
Yeah, indeed, indeed. As I remember, it was like 2 o'clock-ish in the morning, so not the best, not the worst. We have seen worse, but of course better as well. So yeah, at the end it looks good, hopefully.
I was going to say, you know, was the main concern that it would be engine or gearbox, because you changed the engine at the start of the weekend, didn't you?
Yeah, exactly. We changed the engine. I have full trust in the new engine. The previous one had some funny noise, so there was also no terrible issues with the old engine. Just, you know, better be safe than sorry. So with Pedro Fita and Damian together, we decided it's better that we put the new one in. It works pretty well, so that I have full trust in. The rest we will see in the warm-up. That's why we are here for. Exactly.
Good time to run it in and bed it in. So the vibe at the team is very positive. Everyone confident. I mean, you've got a great squad behind you, haven't you?
Yeah, indeed. I'm pretty proud of the guys. You know, we have, of course, everybody says that, but we have the best team in the paddock for sure. And no disrespect to the other guys as well, but I'm pretty sure all the teams here are the best, including ours.
Well, best of luck today, Csaba. Hope Norby does it well as well. We know he does a fantastic job on these first races in particular, and best of luck to you and the guys.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
Okay, so post-race 2, I'm here at T-Sport Bernau with Antonio Albacete. Antonio, obviously the main thing, great to see that you're okay. Not a nice thing to have at the end of a race like that. Could you talk us through it from your perspective?
Yeah, it's true. I mean, it's not nice, but it's what I tell him some years ago, that the second races are a little bit crazy sometimes, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an incident. I think I didn't see clear what happens, you know, because I see that Steffi and Norby were fighting and they were coming very, very slow for the corner. So I go in the inside a little bit faster than them, and then I just see Norby sideways pushing me to the wall. So
and you did everything you could to get out of the way, but it was just that Norby was so far over already.
I mean, it was no room to get out of the way. And then the problem was that my feet was between the clutch pedal and the footrest.
Oh right.
And I was not able to take it away.
Oh no.
I was not no possible. So that's why I stay on the track, you know. So anyway, it was lucky that nothing happened to the feet, so, and nothing happened to any one of us, so that's good.
I was going to say, it seemed confusing at first why it stopped. Obviously, we knew it was a big impact and it was likely the truck could not continue, but obviously it's these little details that we come to ask you about. Do you reckon it'll be fine for tomorrow, surely?
I think we have to ask to team. I hope so. Yeah. I hope so. At the moment, I have a paper from the medical center that I can race.
Oh, good.
So that's good. So we will see if the track is fixed and we can race tomorrow.
Well, this is Tim. I mean, he's probably excited that something's happened, so he gets to fix it. You know what he's like, you know. It gives him some work to do for the evening, but thank you for your time, Antonio. Great to see you okay.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Fantastic to hear from Antonio Albacete yesterday afternoon. Lovely to see that he's okay. And like I said there, Tim Frost probably excited that he had a truck to fix. So as a result of the incident then between Norbert Kish and Steffi Helm, both drivers received 5-second penalties added on to their race time. Norbert Kish for basically forcing another driver off the circuit, and Steffi Helm getting 5 seconds for an unsafe rejoin onto the circuit and causing contact. With that applied, and with the result obviously going back a lap, being so far along in the race, it means that Antonio Albacete, funnily enough, inherited a podium result. So he ends up finishing the race in third place outright. The win going to Jochen Hahn, Jose Eduardo Rodriguez getting second place, and then Antonio Albacete third, ahead of Sascha Lenz, Steffi Helm and René Reinert, with Mark Taylor next up. Norbert Kish had another 10-second penalty applied because of overspeeding in the race, so he eventually was classified in 8th position. Let's have a look at the circuit at which we are racing here today. The wonderful Circuit Zolder here in Belgium, a fantastic backdrop for the Goodyear FIA European Truck Racing Championship. 4 kilometres in length with 16 very challenging corners. It's got a bit of everything, this place. There's hard braking zones into chicanes and hairpins. The chicanes added in, obviously, over the years to help slow the circuit down and improve the safety. But much like a lot of the UK circuits, our beloved UK circuits, it's an old school track that hasn't lost its character by having these safety enhancements. It's great to see that a circuit like this still has the charm and the lovely affection from everybody around, because it's just maintains such a great character. The weather is absolutely stunning, as always it is in the mornings, but we expect some rain and cloud to blow over this afternoon. We're not sure that it will rain on the circuit itself, but you never know. With the wind farms nearby, it's a clear indication that it is a mighty windy place to be. Everybody now waits in anticipation for the first session of the day from the Goodyear FIA European Truck Racing Championship. Revesh Racing just making their way to the pit lane now. We've had the warm-up session this morning, which is when I spoke to Csaba, and a huge thanks to Csaba, by the way, for taking the time out of the warm-up session to have a chat with us. He did also want to pass on his best wishes to Antonio and T-Sport Pernau, who we see on screen now. T-Sport Bernau, that is, Chaz, not Pernau. And yeah, Csaba, he was a bit frustrated with himself at the end of the interview because he said, "Oh, I forgot to say best wishes to Antonio," and you know he was innocent in that incident yesterday. He had nowhere to go, and yeah, he wanted to send on his best. So I said to him that I would relay the message just to make sure if he didn't get a chance to speak to Tim or Antonio beforehand. But Antonio's truck seems all good to go. The team posted on their Instagram earlier on that it is ready to race today, and Antonio is too. He's at full fitness, and obviously there was a bit of concern yesterday as to the fact he didn't get out of the truck very quickly, but it was simply that he had his foot stuck under the clutch pedal, basically. So a strange scenario, but one that was easily explained, at least. So we get ready now to have Q1, the first part of the session. We're told that the pit lane will open at 11:05. It has just ticked to 11:05. And unfortunately, I don't think all the trucks have been able to get round in time for it. So there might be a moment or two delay here before we have that. 11:06 I've heard now. So they just push it back a second as the trucks take their time to get into the pit lane. There is Antonio Albacetti's T-Sport burnout machine, and there is Connie. She's making her way back down the pit lane. One of our FIA technical delegates. Connie is an absolute superstar. A real rock star of the championship. We love her to bits. So Antonio will now move forward, and he will line up at the end of the pit lane. They tend to get them in championship order at the end here. Norbert Kish should appear from the paddock, but it seems like they've just said, nope, get on with it. Get out there and crack on. No further delay. And it looks like we should have all 16 trucks out there on track for this first session of the day. So Q1, 15 minutes for the drivers to set the fastest time that they can. And then we whittle that down to 12 drivers who will then get just 10 minutes to set a time. And then it comes down to a 5-minute shootout for the top 6 at the end. And that will then shape our grid for the races this afternoon. Our 2 other broadcasts today will start local time at 10 to 2, so 1:50 for race 3, and then 4:35 race number 4, 25 to 5 as we say. So obviously if you're watching from the UK, just take an hour off. It seems like simple maths, but this is maths that I still can't master these days. Norbert Kish hoping to move forward to the front of the queue. He's going ahead of Jochen Hahn into the chicane as well. Sasha Lenz is also doing so. I think they're making sure that they get into championship order all on their own here, which is very good of them out on track. Not sure if they've received the go-ahead or not. Good to see a little glimpse of Mark Taylor there in the number 81 machine. I shared an ice cream with Mark yesterday evening. It was lovely to see him and his dad and the team. They're always very welcoming, very friendly. And Mark was relieved at the fact that they had that win in class again, and he's now only 2 points behind Bradley Smith and 1 point further behind Clemens Hecker. It is mighty close in the Chrome Championship, but Mark is certainly feeling confident now. They've got the truck sorted. He took it all the way back to the UK after Most to make sure that they could give it a complete overhaul. He was working 12-hour days to get the thing fixed. So now they've got it all sorted out and good to go. As you can see, beautiful blue skies and the sun is shining here at Zolder. I somehow managed to get slightly sunburnt yesterday at Zolder, which is not something that you do easily. I don't think I've ever heard of anybody getting sunburnt in this particular circuit or on a race weekend here. But the trucks make their way round now into the final couple of corners to get started on their first qualifying laps of the weekend. Sorry, of the day. It's been a long morning already. Norbert Kish across the line, then Jochen Hahn just behind, then Steffi Halm. They're in championship order. Then it's Sasha Lenz next up. Should be René Reinert. Yes, it is. Then Antonio Albacetti and Jose Eduardo Rodriguez coming out of the final corner there as well. He had a tough time in qualifying yesterday, actually, where he stayed in the pit lane thinking that he was safe, but the circuit dried out very quickly from the greasy conditions that we had to start the day, and he was unable to get time to set another lap. There is Clemens Hecker, our new Chrome Championship leader. He's had a great run of form of late. I was talking to Hans Mollenhoff this morning, and he was saying obviously there's risk of them moving up into the Titan category if he keeps up this sort of performance with the level that he's had. So they're hoping to make sure that they don't overdo it. He said if all else fails, they could just sunbathe at Harama at the end of the season with a few beers and just chill out. But Clemens has been doing a great job, though, it has to be said. He's been picking his fights, as we say, where he's chosen them a right moment to battle people and the right moments to hang back slightly and not go for it. And the truck has been well prepared and well maintained by the team, and it's been on a very consistent level of pace all season. They started really well at Misano, actually, taking a 5th in the first race, but then a 3rd, 2nd and a 1st. He completed all the podium positions as Bradley Smith behind has an absolute mountain of steam and smoke coming for the truck there. I think he had a bit of a lock-up on the way in. Hopefully he feels a little bit better today. Clemens has decided to back out of that lap there. He's trying to stay out of the way off the racing line, which is hard to do in these machines because they take up most of the circuit. Norbert Kish across the line then sets the first time of the day. It's a 1:56.243 for him. 0.4 of a second ahead of Jochen Hahn. Steffi Halm next up. Sasha Lenz goes 3rd fastest. Albacete now goes 3rd fastest ahead of Lenz, then Reiner, and then Steffi Halm. Not quite sure the timing tower has picked up the wrong list of drivers, I think, or something on the left-hand side. We'll have to blame Patrick for that one. Patrick would be quite a funny nickname for him. I hope Sebastian picks up on that one. Still, I can read you that. I've got the timing screen local to the circuit here. It's Kish, Hahn, Rodriguez has gone 3rd, Albacete 4th, Sasha Lenz in 5th, Rene Reiner in 6th ahead of Steffi Halm. Mark Taylor is then the leader of the Chrome drivers in 8th place ahead of Jonathan Andre and Luke Garrett, with John Newell in 11th place. Bradley Smith is 12th, and Stefan Kirsch, who we have on screen now, currently in 13th. Louis Riquenco 14th. Clemens Hecker has crossed the line but not set a representative time. It was 3.5 minutes. Rene Reinert's just gone past my window, slowing down and feeling safe to go through. Steffi Halm is having a time deleted for track limits, we're hearing, for hitting one of the penalty markers. So Steffi will have to go again. And yes, she's now been demoted to 14th on the timing. And now 15th, with the lap time set by Stefan Kirsch and Louis Riquenco pushing that down. But it's Norbert Kish with a 1:56.2. That's one of the fastest times we've seen all weekend. A lovely lap from Norby. The track continually got faster yesterday as well in the wet conditions. The sort of wet to dry qualifying make it really exciting. And the times were tumbling and we had Chrome drivers inside the top 5. It was brilliant. But as you see, a few drivers hoping to improve on their time. Clemens Hecker is on a push lap here. I can tell you there's a difference in how quickly they've gone past my window, and he's gone deep into the chicane. And he's got time, so he can probably dial it back a bit now for the rest of that lap, back out of that one, and then go again. Although, I mean, you tell me those engine notes sound like he's backing out. He's got a lot of track space in front of him, so he's got the chance to push. And push indeed. Listen to the tyres squealing. You can hear the wastegate chattering away as he goes up through the gears. The sights and sounds of truck racing are absolutely wonderful. It looked like the truck was really not behaving itself at the rear end. Steffi Halm has crossed the line to continue on. Obviously her lap time not representative either. As you see, most of the trucks will now come into the pit lane. Bradley Smith continues on. He's in 11th place at the moment, and he won't be too pleased with that lap. He'll want a bit more safety. He's behind John Newell and Luke Garrett at the moment. Jonathan Andre second in Chrome as things stand. A great job from him. It's lovely to have him and his team back on the grid for the weekend. They're a very positive bunch of people. But at the moment, the 3 that are going out based on the qualifying times will be Riquenco, Halm and Hecker. We do not have Stefan Faas out on the circuit again. Stefan having a nightmare. You can hear tyres screeching and screaming for mercy. Rene Reinert's truck there. Hoping for a clear day is Rene. He had a penalty in just about every session yesterday. Clemens Hecker crosses the line then, and he only improves to 14th place, but he did back out of that previous lap. And unfortunately, like I say, Stefan Faas not out there on track, so we don't get our 16 trucks for this session. 5.5 minutes left to go then. It's Norbert Kish from Jochen Hahn, Jose Eduardo Rodriguez and Antonio Albacete. The drivers all in 12th place and above, though, do not have those positions cemented on the grid. It's only those outside of it who will now have their positions secured as to where they are. Steffi Halm will want to improve, so will this man as well, Stefan Kirsch, hoping to set a faster time than what he's done so far. He's just outside of the top 12, though. He's a second off of Bradley Smith, who is also hoping to improve, but the two of them are barely 1/10 of a second off John Newell beyond that, so not a massive gap down there in the chrome category for them to recuperate. Bradley Smith is under investigation for hitting a penalty marker, apparently. Oh, somebody's really lighting up the rears there. You could hear it hop, skipping and jumping away from the corner. Luke Garrett there pushing along just ahead of Stefan Kirsch. We should have some more times coming across the board now. We'll see who sets them and who moves up. John Newell improves into 8th position overall. Good stuff by John. Luke Garrett goes up to 10th spot, pushing Jonathan Andre down. Stefan Kirsch did a personal best there, but it's still not enough, unfortunately. He's now 1.6 seconds off Bradley Smith. Louis Requenco improves, but only goes to 13th fastest. He's a 1/10.5 off of the top 12. A little bit of work, maybe just tyre pressures going on there at Jochen Hahn's machine. Yeah, they're just checking the... Oh, covering up the work that's going on there, just so others don't see the tyre pressure changes. That's intriguing. You don't see much of that in truck racing. That really caught me off guard there, actually. You don't see a lot of the sort of human screens, as we say, where people cover up elements of their racing machine. Lovely shot of the Schwaben truck mechanic there, waiting for Steffi Halm to make her way down the pit lane. She's now up into 4th place after a solid lap time. Stefan Kirsch once again pushing his MAN to the limit down towards the Villeneuve chicane. Lots of steam and water on the front wheels, though, by the look of it. There's lots of water constantly piling out the front of that thing. I don't think we see any other truck on the grid running so much water continuously. The trucks do have water-cooled brakes, and they sort of automatically pile the water in on corner exit. It seems like Stefan struggling a little bit with front grip, but unsurprisingly with the amount of steam. Then again, though, you can see the trucks here. Look, Garrett, Hecker and Requenco, all with lots of steam. And wow, Hecker is getting a boot full of boost on the exit there, and it's throwing the truck around. Doesn't look like it's behaving itself as well today. I'm not sure if he had to back out of that one there, actually, with, I think, was that John Newell trying to stay out of the way on the left, and I think he might have been on the racing line. We'll see. Clemens Hecker hoping to improve, and I think he's still pushing. There is the Team Schwaben truck mechanic holding the, well, it can only be described as a ping pong bat or a ping pong racket. Is it a racket or a bat? Still, don't care. Is the HVO 100 5th wheel on the back of Mark Taylor's machine. Total Energy is one of the main partners of the Goodyear FIA European Truck Racing Championship, and we thank them for their huge support in the series with their 100% renewable HVO diesel. There is Jonathan Andre across the line. He's currently running in 11th place, 3.1 seconds off the top spot, but barely 1/10 of a second between them and other chrome drivers. Bradley Smith is going through at the moment, but he won't feel comfortable about it. And Don't Touch Racing will want to make sure that he stays out on track to defend that time as best he can. As you can see, 10th, 11th and 12th all on track to hope for a faster time, basically, to hold themselves in the session. Just 1 minute and 10 seconds left on the clock. And Clemens Hecker, Chrome Championship leader at the moment, is due to drop out of the session if he doesn't improve on this lap. This will be his final chance. He's not got traffic in front of him this time, I don't think, so he should be a bit more comfortable to just push and not worry about finding any other Chrome drivers in his way. John Newell is fastest in Chrome right now. He'll be a lot happier with that. for a while yesterday, he was fastest in Chrome, but then unfortunately they made the call to stay in the pit lane and then they didn't have long enough to improve and go back out. That looks a lot more tidy, that, from Clemens Hecker. Really tidy. He's not improved in the first sector though. He's done a 37.7, but his middle sector is much better than he's done before. A 44.4. We'll see whether he continues to improve in the final moments of this lap. Bradley Smith's done a 44.1 in the middle sector though, so he's going quicker also. 43.5 from Louis Riquenco. So while Clemens Hecker has done his personal best in that middle sector, it's not a time that's going to improve him far up the board. He's about to cross the line. Will our Chrome Championship leader make it through into Q2? Crosses the line and goes 12th. Knocks Bradley Smith down out of the top 12 positions. Is Bradley enough to improve and go further up? Luke Garrett has improved. He's just done a personal best. He goes up into second place in Chrome. Louis Riquenco improves also and knocks Hecker down. Louis Riquenco goes second fastest in Chrome. So Clemens Hecker and Bradley Smith, the top two in the Chrome Championship at the moment, are knocked out of Q1 by Louis Riquenco and Luke Garrett's improvement earlier on. Very interesting stuff and big for the championship. That will put a smile on the face of Mark Taylor for sure. He's 11th in this session and, well, he was far from safe in the end, but he'll be really pleased with the fact that he's now got an opportunity to start much further up the grid than Clemens Hecker and Bradley Smith. Interesting change of form all of a sudden there from the 25. I've just seen it crawl past my window. Jonathan Andre just behind him there as well in the very subtle Lion Truck Racing machine. Checkered flag is out. And unfortunately, there was no prior warning that Stefan Faas would not be out on the circuit. So that's why he wasn't even appearing on the graphics. Some work going on there on the front of Steffi Halm's truck. Hopefully all is good there and she's able to complete the session. John Newell, a good thumbs up from him. Fastest in Chrome. That's more like what he wants to see. He'll be really pleased with that. He just needs to now mirror that. There's Richard Keinberger, our fantastic photographer. And there is the wonderful number 3 machine of Sascha Lenz. Such a well-built truck from Sascha. He and John built very similar trucks at the start of the year. And they struggled with them to begin with, but they've done a great job since in refining them and getting more pace out of them. It's great to see that they're now scoring points as a result. I mean, Sascha was on the front row of the grid yesterday that he was very, very happy about. It was lovely to interview him and have a quick word. They're just checking now at Team Schwab and Truck that all is good, and yep, Steffi allowed to go. Obviously once the queue moves and everybody gets out of the way. Jose Eduardo Rodriguez there, finishing that session in 3rd place. Great stuff from him. Now, there was an investigation into Louis Riquenco for hitting a penalty marker, but there was no further action taken, so he keeps his time. So Clemens Hecker and Bradley Smith out of Q1. That is devastating stuff for their championship. And we're getting to the sharp end of the season now. Like I said to Mark Taylor yesterday, it's the time where a lot of us start to do the maths and people start reining in on what are the maximum points left, you know, how many points have we got to play with? And with just 2 race meetings to go, you have to start considering these things as drivers. Louis Riquenco is just making his way into the pit lane. Clemens Hecker also, and Jonathan Andre. They're just in the background there. Clemens will be disappointed in that, to say the least, to have not made it through into Q2. Jonathan Andre's machine barely gets a chance to cool down before he gets going. Here's a view of Clemens Hecker. And the discussion after that will be a pretty downhearted one, I can imagine. But this is competition. These things happen. It's how it goes, unfortunately. And now, as you see them 2 by 2, they wait, some in the fast lane, some in the slow lane, to get the next session underway. It should be Norbert Kish leading Jochen Hahn and Jose Eduardo Rodriguez. And there is Louis Riquenco, the driver that set the time in the late moments there to knock Clemens Hecker out of the session. I think Louis has been told to move forward slightly in the queue. I think at 11:26. Yep, just as it ticks over, they are good to go. So Norbert Kish leads them out then. Jochen Hahn second, Jose Eduardo Rodriguez third ahead of Steffi Halm and then Antonio Albacete. Q2 is always interesting. This 10-minute session in the middle, it cuts the field in half. So we go from 12 trucks in this one to just 2. Sorry, just 2 to 6. I don't even know where that came from. I'm not going to lie to you all, but I hope you're enjoying the show. As always, here it's Chaz Draycott on commentary duties and presenting duties this weekend at Zolder. I'm having a fantastic time doing both. Absolutely loving it. And what a great shot here of the gorgeous scenery here at Zolder. The wind farm just off to the southwest of the circuit. And turns 2, 3 and 4, these long sweeping corners that really start to shred that front left tyre and wear it down at a rate of knots. And the drivers now making their way down the back straight, just coming past my window now, where that shadow is, basically, where the bridge is. I'm basically parallel to that bridge. So get the lovely experience of having them come down the back straight on the feed and then, yeah, a quick glimpse to the right and they come past out of my window. It's a lovely thing. One of my favourite things about being at the circuit is watching it on the stream and still seeing it happen outside your window at the same time. But the drivers know that they've still got this 10-minute window, but they take a minute or two to just get the truck back out on track, make sure the brakes are cool and they're ready to go. Make sure all the water, oil temperatures, everything are in an optimal window. And then they can push for a fast lap. Interesting first session though, that very interesting to see times at the end knocking other drivers out of the session, but that's what keeps it exciting. That's why I love this qualifying format that we have here in the Goodyear FIA European Truck Racing Championship. Keeps things nice and spicy from one session to the next. The whole Q1, Q2, Q3 format has always been exciting. And once again, we see here Jochen Hahn doing something that we've seen him do for the last few qualifying sessions, actually. Normally the drivers leave a big gap in front if they're concerned of catching the truck ahead, if there's any issues or anything goes on. But Jochen sits quite close behind Norbert Kish. He's barely a second and a half behind him. And you can see the huge gaps that the other drivers have left. Jose Eduardo Rodriguez there, leaving many truck lengths between himself and Jochen, same with Steffi Halm in 4th position as well. But yeah, Jochen's sitting quite closely in the mirrors of Norbert Kish. I'm not sure if it's a bit of pressure to put in, you know, put his truck in the mirrors and try and put him off. I'm not sure. But there is about a second and a half between them on the road right now, and certainly an interesting tactic from Jochen. I'm not sure if he does it consciously or does it on purpose, but I might have to ask him. I'm sure he'll give me a very well-worded and wise answer if I do ask, because I mean, we always love Jochen's interviews. He's so level-headed about it all, and he always has a very clever answer to whatever you ask him. John Newell on screen there. Like I said earlier, he'll be really happy after that first qualifying session to be fastest in Chrome ahead of these drivers, Louis Riquenco and Luke Garrett. Went to see Luke and Lisa and the team this morning, and Darrell, and everybody was in good spirits ahead of today. They had a pretty tough day yesterday at the office, but They are certainly plucky Brits, as I would say, and great to see them all ready to go ahead of this morning. But John was setting good pace yesterday in Q1, just didn't get the opportunity to go through into Q2 and 3 and show that he could continue that pace on, you see. Across the line then goes Norbert Kirsch, and it's a 1:55.8. That's a fantastic lap time. 1:56.7 from Jochen Hahn is exactly 9/10 of a second off. Third place goes Jose Eduardo Rodriguez, just a 1/10 of a second off from Jochen, and 1,000th, oh no, sorry, it's not 1,000th, I do apologise. The timing screen here is a little bit different to what I'm used to. But we've got Steffi Halm next up in 4th place. Albacete goes 5th. Lenz goes 6th. René Reinert now moves up into 5th place, so he knocks Sasha Lenz out of a Q3 position. Apparently, Louis Riquenco has been still in a circuit, but very slowly. Apparently, he's slowed quite a lot at a later stage of the lap. We'll just keep our eye on whether he's gotten up to full speed or not. Looks like Norby and Jochen quite happy with their times. They've pulled out of their laps. They just, again, crawl past the window here. There is Jonathan Andre making his way round turn 1 after his first fast lap of the session. His time was only good enough for 11th. Louis Riquenco, yeah, he did a slow final sector and he's just crossed the line now. I think he's gotten up to full speed. I was just listening out to see if I could hear him go down the start-finish straight because it rattles the entire building here at Zolder. I'm in an office near the start-finish straight, but I can also see over the back straight as well. Can't see down the start-finish straight, unfortunately, but even when they go past there, you hear them rattle the entire building. It's great. But at the moment, the 6 drivers going through are Norbert Kisch, Jochen Hahn, Jose Eduardo Rodriguez, Steffi Halm, René Reinert, and Antonio Albacete. Mix of fortunes for Sasha Lenz after being on the front row of the grid yesterday. He's currently at threat of being dropped out of Q2. And Louis Riquenco is still going slowly. He's just gone past my window here and he's definitely not at full qualifying pace. So not quite sure what is going on there for Louis. As we see Sasha following Steffi around the circuit. We'll wait and see what sort of improvements he can make, because it's definite that he will be going on for a fast lap again. I've been talking this morning about how hot it is here at the circuit, and just walking past my window now, I've just seen 2 furry mascots. One looks like a cow of sorts, the other one looks like some sort of green dragon, and I don't know how those people are not absolutely sweltering. In fact, it might not be a dragon, it might be a frog, but it's some weird green creature. Anyway, what's on track right now is Sasha Lenz pushing and pushing through turn 1. You can see the truck's behaviour moving this way and that way as he tries to get it stabilised. He tries to get it back on a tight leash through turn 2. And around turns 2, 3 and 4 they go. It's such a long radius corner there down towards the Lucien Bianchi box. Antonio Albacete not feeling like he's comfortable or safe in this current session. He's in 6th place, right on the cusp of being knocked out of the session. And you can see that these drivers now have a bit more impetus about their laps, don't they? Really pushing on. It's great to see this when the trucks that, not in a race scenario, are just absolutely thrown around on track, trying to eke out every single 10th of a second. Steffi Halm is having this current lap deleted for hitting a penalty marker. We look at Jonathan Andre, who wants to try and improve his time. Very sideways through the chicane there. Eking out every bit of performance that he possibly can. Across the line goes Sasha Lenz. Then does he move up the order? Looked like he was improving, but no, not enough in either sector to do a personal best. Antonio Albacete doesn't improve either, but he backed out of that lap, so makes perfect sense. It's still the same top 6 that we had before. As you can see there, the ones highlighted in green on the left-hand side. The checkered flag will now fly. So anybody crossing the line now will be finished for the session. An improvement for Mark Taylor puts him in 8th place on a 158.2. An improvement for Jonathan Andre as well moved him up just 1 position over John Newell. Can hear more trucks going through across the line. An improvement from Louis Requenco as well, but he stays in 12th place there. So not the best possible time from Louis. This could be interesting here. Either Sasha Lenz is going to improve and make it into Q3, or he's not. It could be the case that he improves and then either Albacete or Halm. Well, I suppose it depends if Sasha Lenz is ahead of Steffi Halm or not. Jose Eduardo Rodriguez clearly happy with his session. Much better than yesterday when they were in the pits when the session ticked over and he was knocked out of qualifying 1. Team manager of Truck 81 has been requested to go to the stewards, which is Mark Taylor, which is quite interesting. It could just be something to do with a transponder. It could be anything minor. It's not always that they've done something wrong. We should have a truck or two across the line now then, and it looks like Steffi Halm and René Reinert have both backed out of their middle sectors. Albacete and Lenz are about to cross the line. Albacete moves up into 3rd place. Great improvement by Antonio Albacete, but I'm pretty sure, wasn't Sasha ahead of him on the road? I think Sasha might have backed out of it. Here's Luke Garrett across the line. Looking for an improvement. No improvement there. And yeah, Sasha Lenz has backed out of it and gone into the pits. So from 2nd on the grid yesterday, Sasha Lenz will now start the first race of the day in 7th place on the 4th row of the grid. It will be Sasha alongside Mark Taylor on row 4, Luke Garrett and Jonathan Andre on row 5, and then John Newell and Louis Requenco. Mark Taylor will be the highest placed Chrome driver on the grid. He will be really pleased with that because race 1 of the day, and so, well, race 1 and 3 of the weekend, you get more points than you do in races 2 and 4. So this is the time for Mark to try and overcome the gap to Bradley Smith and Clemens Hecker. 1 position difference makes a much more substantial points difference in these scenarios. So this is the time for them to turn it around. Jochen Hahn's truck almost looks like it's buried in the back of Norby's machine there. They're very, very close. But we should be in for an exciting Q3 now with these drivers. We've got a very exciting list of them ready to go through. No Chrome driver in the list this time round. You can see everybody just making their way back into the pit lane. And in just a few minutes' time, they'll be ready to open the end of the pit lane up again. But unfortunately for Sasha Lenz, he is the sole Titan driver not to go through into Q3, and he'll be really disappointed in that. So will the team, but they'll come back strong for for the first race of the day. I might try and grab a word with Sasha later on the grid. Luke Garrett will be second in the Chrome class as well. It'll be great to hear from Luke and the team. That's definitely a result that they've been after. Their qualifying sessions haven't been the best of late, so they'll be really pleased to have finally turned that around. Especially now, the race result is the bit that scores the points, so they'll have to make sure that he can hold off the likes of Jonathan Andre and John Newell, who will all be hungry for podiums and big points. There are the T-Sport Burnout squad, just checking the tyre pressures of their MAN, making sure everything's all good. He's stiffening the anti-roll bars, and it's thanks to my good friend Imre Kadar that I know that from yesterday. I saw Tim doing this work on the rear end of the truck. And look at him, it's like a lightning bolt. A northern lightning bolt. And there he's all good. I think he's just saying, hang on, Antonio, I'm working. Ready to go, though, surely, in just a sec. Basically, it just stiffens up the rear of the truck that little bit so it's not too soft. It doesn't carry the weight unnecessarily across all four corners. It doesn't sort of drag into the corner at the rear end. It stiffens it up that little bit, so helps them get the traction down when needed, but it also helps lift the rear when it wants to give that rotation. There's a lot of science behind these trucks and the way that they manage weight transfer. Such an important part of truck racing. So we go out on track, not quite in the order that they finished that last one, but it's Norbert Kish, Jochen Hahn, Jose Eduardo Rodriguez, Antonio Albacete and Steffi Halm, with René Reinert in 6th place. René is hoping for a much cleaner day, like I said, because yesterday, having a penalty in almost every session, he was certainly not a happy bunny, but it's one of those things. We heard it from Jochen before. I think Jochen had a penalty for something a while ago, and he said, look, these are the rules. If we don't stick to them, we pay the price. If we do stick to them, then all is good. Great mindset for a racing driver. Very acceptant of the fact that they're not bulletproof. They're not invincible. So, 5-minute session here in Q3. Final element of qualifying for this weekend. And I've just heard as well from Jill at Clemens Hecker's team that they've had problems with the brakes, which is why their qualifying session didn't go the way they planned, and he'll be starting right down near the tail order, or tail end of the order. So fingers crossed they can have that sorted. And in the race, he can make progress forward, because we've seen great pace from that Scania this season. It's been wonderful. And that resurgence of pace at Most was incredible, wasn't it? And that's what's helped propel Clemens Hecker to the top of the Chrome Championship this weekend. 1 point clear of Bradley Smith, who is then 2 points clear of Mark Taylor. John Newell will be hoping to get himself back in that fight as well. He is currently 15 points off the back of Mark Taylor. But John is a fighter, and he will be right back in the mix at the drop of a hat. So across the line they go then, and it's very likely that they will get just 1 lap each here. We did see a couple of drivers yesterday get 2 laps, but it doesn't really work that well in truck racing. Once the machine has been really wrangled around a fast lap, it's hard for them to get the optimal lap time out of a second lap. So we'll see what they can do. Norbert Kish leads us around, though, with Jochen Hahn following on. Norby's got quite the gap over the other drivers as well. He's already through the chicane and up and over the crest of the hill. You can hear me turning around to look at it, I'm sure, as Jochen Hahn and Jose Eduardo Rodriguez make their way into the Kleiner chicane now as well. A hop, skip and a jump this way and that way. Lovely to see these trucks navigating these chicanes. There's still a lot of people I speak to about truck racing, and when you mention that we're here at Zolder for the weekend, they just go, what? Trucks around Zolder? Because they know of how narrow and tiny this place is and how big the racing trucks are, of course. They expect it to be some sort of GT or touring car that comes here, but no. Truck racing at Zolder is quite the spectacle. And you can tell that as well, that even the local fans know that too. They've seen some wonderful reactions along the pit wall. There's a very positive atmosphere here at Zolder. And out of the final corner then comes Norbert Kish in a much more put-together manner than we saw yesterday. Across the line, he keeps it over to the left as well, doesn't run it all the way to the right-hand wall to set the time. It's a 1:55.7. Lovely lap time by our reigning champion. 3 purple sectors and a purple lap as a result. Great stuff. 1:56.3 for Jochen Hahn. Solid lap indeed. Jose Eduardo Rodriguez goes third with a 1:56.9. Next across the line, I believe, might be Antonio Albacete. He crosses the line just now, and the lap time from him puts him third fastest. It's a 1:56.6. Steffi Halm next up. Stays in 5th position, a 1:56.9. And up into 4th place goes René Reinert. Good stuff from René there, a 1:56.9 for him. And Jose Eduardo Rodriguez just going off on the right-hand side there. It doesn't look like any of them have pushed for a second lap. No, Norbert Kish, Jochen Hahn and Jose Eduardo Rodriguez have all backed out now. I don't think any of the drivers behind are on push laps either. I think they all crossed the line. I think Antonio was probably the only one, actually, that crossed the line before the checkered flag came out. Out of the rest of them, anyway. I think Steffi Halm and René Reinert both crossed the line afterwards. And yeah, Antonio has backed out of the lap. He's just come past my position here. So that will be another pole position for Norbert Kish. Great stuff from him and Reveche Racing after the damage to the truck yesterday. Like Chaba said, it was just down to cosmetic stuff, but they wanted to make it look as good as new, and it's running as if it's good as new. And same goes for Antonio Albacete as well. 2nd row of the grid for him, 3rd position. René Reinert alongside him, looking for a much more successful day than he had yesterday. It was a tough day in the office for René. I might have to have an interview with him as well as the day goes on. Lots of great storylines here at Zolder. I've always said it, and I will continue to say it this weekend. I do apologise, but it's the fact that this circuit at this time of the championship, you know, in the final third of the season, it really is a shaking point for a lot of the teams and the drivers. It really does affect a lot of them, you know. You see interesting results and final sort of dashes for points ahead of the final 2 meetings, one at Le Mans in a week's time, and then 2 weeks from that we head to Spain and Jarama just outside of Madrid for the Spanish Truck Prix. We're all very excited as well because at both race meetings we'll be sharing the circuit and sharing the paddock with other truck racing championships as well, so both are guaranteed to be a fantastic party celebrating these racing monsters. And you see now the pit lane activities still pretty chilled with the trucks sat there ready to go into the paddock, but they all get cleared to go back round to the paddock at the same time. They access it via the circuit. So none of the trucks make their way straight back into the paddock as soon as they're knocked out of a session. They have to sit there and wait. It is often the case that the engineers, not always the drivers, will move them back to the paddock and park them up. Let's have a look, shall we? at the results of that qualifying session then, which sets the grid for the race this afternoon. Norbert Kish takes another pole position, with Jochen Hahn in second and Antonio Albacete in third. René Reinert starts on the second row of the grid, with Jose Eduardo Rodriguez and Steffi Halm making up row 3. We then have Sasha Lenz alongside Mark Taylor in 7th and 8th positions. Mark the fastest in chrome, with Luke Garrett and Jonathan Andre completing the top 10. Those two will be really pleased with that result. John Newell had a lot of promise in Q1, but didn't quite confirm it for Q2 or 3, unfortunately, so he will start in 11th alongside Louis Riquenco. Clemens Hecker and Bradley Smith will both be doing their best to move forward during the first race, and Stefan Kirsch will line up 15th on the grid, with hopefully Stefan Faas alongside him. Stefan will have to request permission to start from the back of the grid or the pit lane, I believe, to be part of this one. We have race 3 of the weekend coming up at 10 to 2 this afternoon, so in about 2 hours time we'll be back on your screens. I'll be down on the grid interviewing some of our drivers. For now, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you when the trucks are back in the Goodyear FIA European Truck Racing Championship from Zolder.